Hello, thanks for joining. Hello. Trying to pin my chat. Hi, guys. Thanks for joining the weekly Fashion Bites chat. We have a very exciting speaker today, John. I'm Hillary, founder of the Fashion Bites platform. We're here to support and nurture creative entrepreneurs, filling the gap between education and what happens in real life. This is our way to connect, collaborate, and share. For those of you who don't know us or do know us, we usually have educational panel discussion events focused on running your fashion business or your creative business with industry experts. It's so important to know the different components of running a business and the many hats you need to wear, from admin, finance, to taking out the rubbish. John, he's about to join us. Let's just go back. Hi, John.
Hello.
Hi.
Thank
How
you.
are you?
Good. Yeah, hot, but good.
Slightly muggy.
Yeah.
It's great to have you join us today. Please introduce yourself.
Okay. Well, my name is John Abbate, and I have quite a few years of experience in store design and visual merchandising. Started out working for some big brands like Ralph Lauren, Levi's, Alfred Dunhill, and then started my own agency and retail design, and then started my own little brand with an indigo fabric, and started to make some menswear and some accessories. So I've had experience from working for large brands, having my own agency, having my own little brand, and now one of my big passions is kind of smaller independent brands, which is why because to me, you can hear from my accent, I'm not originally from London, but we used to come to London a lot for inspiration, and I just kind of feel like in the past quite a few years, like London's lost that independent shop feeling to it. So I kind of miss that, and I want to use my experience and skills to help smaller independent brands and startups. So that's why I'm an executive committee member for the British Display Society. I'm on the board of Save the High Street, and I work for kind of a startup retail design agency called North Banks, and their focus is more digital first. So brands that are successful online and they want to try to transition into the physical world, or larger brands who are looking for kind of a smaller retail design agency to give them something a little different that the big design agencies kind of, I think, they're kind of dinosaurs. So and I'm quite into the future of retail too, like where it's going.
Okay.
Sure. And in particular, visual merchandising, which is one of the things.
Yes, we're definitely getting on to that, because we're talking about customer experience today specifically.
Yeah.
So it'd be great for you to define it a bit. What is customer experience, and why does it matter?
Okay. Well, customer experience is your interaction with the customer, basically. How the customer experiences your product, your brand, your shop, your line, your collection, your service, whatever it is. It's quite, I know it's used a lot, customer experience, but it is just simply how the time they spend with you. What is that time like? And there's two parts to this. The one is kind of the silent selling of the visual merchandising side, which is more visual or sensory driven, where the customer is kind of on their own experiencing this without really any human interaction. And the other part of customer experience is the part where they are speaking to somebody, interacting with somebody, being sold something, being serviced, whatever it is. So the part that we want to talk about today is more the visual side, the tactile side, customer experience, which I think a lot of people don't realize really what goes into it. They might do it by accident, but the larger brands really give a lot of thought into this. It's really part of their strategies. It's quite worked out.
Okay. Is customer experience another name for customer service?
Well, not from my point of view, and only in that.
Yeah.
Only in that it's silent selling. So it does it does serve the customer, and that they're going to make choices on their own without any interaction. So of course this is going to happen online too. So that's one topic I'm quite interested in is kind of the customer experience, visual customer experience online, and how I think that really needs a revamp. And it's exciting to see that lots of technologies now, lots of things going on to make it more interesting. But really the customer is going to make up their mind without anyone talking to them. So they can make up their mind on price, like, oh, that's cheap, I'll get that. Or they can make up a mind that I'm really, we all have that experience. You walk into a beautiful shop or something, you go, I love this place. This is so cool. And I want to buy something here. I don't know what, but I want to walk out with something. And so it's really trying to get that feeling. And all the displays and the merchandising, the way products are put, the way the shop looks, the lighting, the music, all of this stuff gives you that atmosphere. It's like going to a good party. What makes a good party? It's lighting. Of course, it's the people that are there. But of course, it's like, what do you have on offer at the party? What's the food? What's the drink? What's the ambiance? What's the music? What's the lighting like? If you go to, but that could be anything. That depends on your brand, your idea, your personality. And that's what visual merchandising does. It helps you express your personality. If you want to be, in an old garage, and it's very, dark, but you decide that. So you have that environment because you think that's what you're all about and that's what you want to communicate. So you want to put yourself in an environment that suits what your brand is all about, and you therefore want the customer to experience that. So it could be a very luxurious environment, it could be a totally casual, whatever environment it is, that's decided at some point by you as the designer or the brand.
Right. So obviously, visual merchandising is a big part of the experience. So could you please chat to us about how you create that story and where this happens?
Okay. Well, it is really about storytelling. That's a really good way to summarize it. And it is like theater. So basically, you're building the context and the background for whatever product or service you're offering, and that can happen in a store, it can happen in a showroom, it can happen online, it can happen in social media, and it can happen in events and pop-ups. So these are all the visual, tactile places where kind of visual merchandising customer experience happens, and it's quite a good idea if they're all kind of linked, if there's some sort of continuity between all of those. There's a common language, because people are not paying attention to you as much as you think they are. So you need to kind of repeat messages across these different channels. I call it the blurred test. Like if you were to look at all the different touch points, visual touch points that you do, whether it's social media, if you blur your eyes and it kind of looks the same, it's the same colors and feelings, then you're doing something right. So that's a VM test that we do for a brand. It's the blur test. If you were to squint your eyes, can you tell what brand it is just without seeing the name?
Wow, that's amazing. I wouldn't have thought of that, clearly, because you're the expert.
Just one of the things about visual merchandising is that most people don't understand it, because it's kind of, oh, I can do that. It's just a bit of fluffing around. It's just window display. Literally, it is window display. So it gets a bad rap. And then I've noticed now that, a lot of companies have laid off their visual merchandising teams. It's like, oh, this is not the time to be doing that, because people don't really want to go to stores. They don't have to go to stores. So if they're going to go somewhere, you've got to make it interesting and worthwhile for them. If they go and it looks like what it looked like before, but even more shabby, you're kind of on a downward spiral. So it needs to be, everybody needs to be upping the game. I know budgets are going to be horribly slashed, but one thing visual merchandisers are really good is we can make, am I allowed to curse? I mean, we can make shit look good.
We're in a safe space.
That's one of this, a good visual merchandiser could take something that's quite ugly and just make it look fabulous. And that's our job, is to make everything look fabulous, no matter what it is and no matter what your budget is. Sometimes
Okay.
having a low budget is more fun. It allows you to be more creative. Yeah.
Exactly. But then that would lead me into, tell us how you translate the physical experience into the digital.
Okay. Well, I just did a little.
Digital right now is really important, and you need to merge the offline and online
Yeah.
experience.
Yeah, there are some really simple, basic ways to do that. Like if you're an independent and you just, you have your little Instagram account, you've got a little showroom of your product, or, if you're small and you don't have a lot of resources around you. I mean, the best way to, if you have a shop or a couple of shops, the best thing to do, I think, is to use your shop as your background. Like you don't really need to be doing studio shoots. Like why not? Of course, there's lifestyle shoots that you'll want to do, in a lifestyle environment with models, but I've noticed this on Instagram, and I just did a little post on this on LinkedIn about, I've noticed on Instagram that a lot of people are using their shops as the backgrounds. They're shooting in the shop. So the shop kind of becomes the showroom. And why not? Why shouldn't a shop and a showroom be one? Why shouldn't the customer kind of get a glimpse of what's coming in the future, or just kind of walk into a photo shoot or something like that? It's more interesting for the customer to be in this environment that's more kind of dynamic and more part of the brands, like kind of going to the back office of the, if the designer is there cutting, making something, that's an interesting environment to be part of. So, yeah, so that's.
Oh, that's cool. I think for any business, the goals are, customer loyalty, satisfaction, trust, and these are all potential goals or building blocks that are important components for the customer experience. Would you agree, or is this a part of the ingredients that we need to make sure our customers are happy?
Yeah, well, the thing is, how do you get them to be loyal? How do you,
Yeah.
They're only going to be loyal if they find you interesting and their first experience was good, and their second experience was good, and their third experience was good. I mean, loyalty doesn't come right away. So loyalty takes time to build. And I think today, authenticity is really quite important. You have a story to tell, something real about you. You're not just flogging something that was a copy of what someone else was doing because it was successful. That's just not going to cut it now, except if your price is really low, and that's why they're shopping from you. But they want to see real creativity. If you're a designer, they want to know that you designed this product. And all designers have mood boards. They think about what the collection is inspired by something. And quite often when we were designing windows for, the large brands, particularly Dunhill, we would always go to the designers and say, what's your mood boards behind all these collections? I can't start my job until I know what was in your mind before you even start to design this. And then I would take their story and carry that over into what I did. So it's about creating, there's like a chain. So you have the designer, the creatives have all these fantastic ideas and design all this wonderful stuff. But by the time it gets down to the customer, have you lost that message? So what visual merchandising does is it helps maintain that message through the entire process. So we deliver that message to the customer because the designer is busy designing the next season's collection. By the time it hits the store, the designer's like, I don't even remember that. I designed that 6 months ago, a year ago. So I'm not involved anymore. My head's in another season. So our job is to kind of carry it through to the present moment when the customer is going to interact with it. It's kind of, we grab the football, we carry it on. We bring it, that sounds a little dramatic, but we're the one who makes the goal.
No, that's really interesting, because another question I actually had was how much does the actual product or service factor into the customer experience when you're working with the brand?
Well, that's a good topic, because going back to what I said is, visual merchandisers can make anything look good. I know this is going to sound counterintuitive, but sometimes the product doesn't really matter. It's almost the story, and that's what I really learned at Ralph Lauren. Ralph Lauren. I mean, I love Ralph Lauren, but no one insult them. But there's a lot of smoke and mirrors, and the product is quite overpriced. For what it is, but a lot of what goes into that margin is all the they put into the image of the brand. I mean, that's expensive to build those fantastic stores and to change them. I mean, I don't know how often they do it now, but the props in the stores used to change drastically every season. And they repaint the walls, re-wallpaper the walls, put all new props. We had a whole warehouse full of display things. It was quite an expensive endeavor to make the stores the way they did. And teams of people working at night. That's one of the things people don't really know about visual merchandisers, is that we tend to work at night. We're the elves that come at night to make everything look, we're out of there before the store opens. So no one really sees the visual merchandising department. They're not really, they're like little fairies that come around and make everything look good. So people don't really realize what goes into it because they don't really witness them at work.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So as a brand, what are some quick ways that I can work out that my customer experience needs improvement?
Well, if you don't have consistency across all your channels, so if you look at your showroom or any retail outlets, and you look at your online, your website, and you look at your social media, and if there isn't a common message there, then you've got to do something to align those together. And that, that's just your graphic style, the imagery. It just needs to be, like I said before, a strong message which is repeated over and over again across all your different channels. And you could use the store in this, and now you can actually physically cross them all over. You could shoot in, the physical and the digital kind of become one. The physical is photographed and is part of the digital experience. And I think the digital experience, I'm really sick and tired. I was from day one, product shot in white backgrounds. I think that's something Amazon and eBay started.
Right.
But there's almost no reason for that. You can photograph in much more interesting backgrounds as long as the product is still the hero, and people get more of an atmosphere of what you're all about. So even if you're just, when you photograph your item, think about the background you're photographing it on. It doesn't have to be white background. I think the white background is good if you then go into the details. Like they want to see what it looks like up close, the details, they want to see the price. That's when they're going to buy it. They might see that white background thing, but that should not be the first thing they see because it doesn't express anything.
Yeah, there's no story.
There's no story behind it. So if you don't have a huge website with all these videos and lots of other stories going on, if they're pretty much going to go straight into your product, then the way the product is photographed, and that's what I hope to see. Live selling will start going on. I think content online, and this is kind of where retail is going, I think online content will become more interesting, and that I think there'll be more of a change on the online content in the physical stores, actually.
Okay, well that leads into the next question. What are you seeing? What do you see retail going at the moment, and the best ways to respond?
Well, retail's a bit of a disaster at the moment, so you just got to hang in there, and it's going to be low budget efforts, but I think that's okay. I think the customer understands. And I think, again, it's really about being authentic and having a point of view. If you don't have one, get one. Because that people, it's a very crowded, that's one thing about the digital world. It's very crowded. So having some sort of physical outlet allows your customer to experience you physically. So I think there's going to be more, if you're digital only, you're going to probably want to do pop-ups or have events that are going to be physical somehow. You want to be able to find ways to tell your story, and the customer journey has to go across all these various channels. And I think content will be more visual, more interesting. Short movies, like why not just talk about a product a little bit and have a short little clip about it. The same way that when you walk into a store, the sales assistant might tell you a little bit about that product, and you'd be like, "Wow, that's fantastic! I didn't know that. It's, that it made that way. That's really cool." So usually when you're having a physical experience, the amount of information you're getting is maybe a bit more. So how do you deliver that online? Because people they're just quickly going online. They're not going to read like a whole big story about the product. But how can you just quickly tell something? And maybe it's not reading it; it's just a little video clip about it where you talk about it. People are more apt to go look at that than they are than read something. So again, it's about being more visual, and then also it's really about personalization. So there's a lot of artificial intelligence for the bigger brands using data to personalize messages, to do product selection, like, oh, this is what's in the season, and knowing what you bought in the past that might project what you might be interested in the future. That's a lot of data-driven technology. But on a more personal level, if you know your customers, you could do that. You just take notes. When people come in, get their emails, get their Instagrams, and remember to try to make. It's a really old-fashioned retailing, but they have a client book, and they make little notes about their customers. And that's personalized service is nothing new at all.
Yeah.
But it's time consuming, but I think it's kind of worth it. So you can have appointments, like if your stores are closed a lot, if you have a service that's quite social distancing is difficult, and a lot of people have been doing this. They've been doing appointments. So, and then they're more apt to buy because they're not just coming in and browsing, they've made an appointment. So the footfall may decrease, but your conversion rate, your actual sales might be okay for the amount of people coming in because they made that intent to come in. So being a stylist, like I've given advice to a couple of retailers where business is like, oh my God, it's so dead. But she's quite good at styling. So she's been helping their customers with styling tips. So she's trying to kind of remarket herself as a stylist. So therefore she has some authority and authenticity in what she's selling because she kind of knows how to put outfits together and things. She's giving advice to customers about that. So later on, when they do come back, they have kind of more of a trust with her. And then video chats, like what we're doing now, you could, I know it's not so easy, but there's a few different companies doing things like that where you can, to your customers, you can text and video show, live streaming. And I have one idea with a friend of mine. He does kind of a transvestite dinner show. So I said, why doesn't he do a transvestite QVC? The QVC channel is it's so 80s, isn't it? It's so, and they just sell, who looks at it? But what an opportunity to do like a new QVC, I'll call it a queer VC. And it would just be hilarious to have, something like that. Make it fun, make these kind of old fashioned ways of selling on TV or online, bring them back, but bring them back in a really creative way. Yeah, because it's relevant in a way. That's how people will shop. So the challenge is how to evolve, and this is really the time to evolve. So
we have a question that's come in, and I think it relates to having the message across all channels. What if you realize you haven't been doing that on your social media? Should you delete all and start again?
I know some people that have done that. They just started from scratch.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they just deleted and started from scratch because the messages were so, mixed up, and they were having pictures of like food. It was like a personal Instagram that became a business. So it was just like they had to cut all that out. It kind of depends, if you're, again, this is the thing with visual merchandising. There's no right or wrong answer. It depends on what's your personality. If your personality is eclectic and your designs are a little bit, no, it doesn't matter if they're eclectic. But if your personality is to show yourself and you want customers to kind of be part of your personal world, then you can keep all that stuff on there. But if you want to have a very slick image, which is very focused, then you don't want to have all these distracting messages. It's, is it about you personally, which then you could have lots of crazy content, or is it about something focused? Then you need to clear that up and kind of get rid of all that fuzziness, because it's just going to be, people are going to judge you. They might scroll all the way down there,
Right.
so, and they'll be like, but the thing is that if it's way in your history, it's kind of okay. Like, oh, okay, I see the evolution. So if there's an evolution to it, fine. So you kind of have two choices. You could start fresh all over again, or you could kind of slowly start to do it incrementally. So the first few swipes down, it's consistent, but if they go down further and it's different, that's kind of okay, because maybe people don't go all the way down there unless they're really interested in you. So again, it really depends how focused you want to be on what you're selling, and do you want kind of, are mixed messages part of your communication strategy?
Now, the people that have like deleted and started again, did that work for them?
It depends how much history they had and how many followers they had. So if you don't have a big history, you don't have that many followers, it's kind of okay. If you have 10,000 followers already, that's a little like crazy to kind of start all over again, unless you announce to everyone why you're doing that. You know, yeah, if you're going, we're starting all over again. This is like, it's the Phoenix Rising, and then all the customers, oh wow, that's crazy, and they'll be like, what are they going to be doing? Why have they done that? And they'll be really anticipating, the new look. So if you decide to do it, it's got to be, well, I have so few followers anyway, and they're my aunts and uncles and friends. So, who cares? Or it's like, I have a huge following, but I need to do a reset. And, big brands reset, they reset on a regular basis. So if you do a reset, you target it as this is a reset, and you kind of let all your followers know kind of why you're doing it, and make your reset really interesting, worthwhile of them staying followers.
Okay, thank you. Then you mentioned about challenging. I know it's a challenging time, but do you think that there's still new opportunities for businesses right now?
Yeah. There are. I mean, sales are not going to be easy, but I think the opportunities to position yourself in where you want to be positioned, it's quite a good time, because the whole world has kind of done a reset and a delete, haven't they, almost? Yeah. So it's a really good time to look for the opportunities, whether they're financial assistance or resetting your brand, or there's a lot of help out there. And there's a lot of people willing to give you a chance, to support you. There's a local initiative to shop local. People are much more sensitive to things now. So I believe there's a window of time to do it. And in a year from now, hopefully, we don't want this to go on forever. So it's kind of weird to have opportunities in a bad time, but there are. And you focus on the opportunities that are going to come after the crisis. And so you're in a good position when everyone is kind of back. But when they're back, they're still going to be shopping online. So if you don't have a strong online presence, this is a really good time to be building that, because you've got the time and you can get the funding for it. So, it's a good opportunity now.
Okay, thank you. There's a word they're combining at the moment, and I just wanted your thoughts on that. Retail-tainment.
Yeah.
Combining retail and entertainment. Everything you've spoken about, do you think that word defines it, or is that something complete? Am I just completely off?
Well, it depends how. Yeah, I think that is really relevant, because visual merchandising is about entertaining the customer visually. So at a really kind of simple, old-fashioned level, like window displays usually, could make people laugh. They could make you stop. There's a message in the window. So in a way, window display was a form of entertainment, just strolling down the street, looking at windows and go, oh my God, those are great, aren't they? And so that's kind of a small form of entertainment, but it could become more of an entertainment depending on the experiences that you have in store. So you have special events, workshops. So people come to the pop-up or the physical store for a particular event, and that is basically entertainment. They're coming to do something that's particular and experience something that's, that they registered for and they came to. So that they could have done anything else that day, but they decided to do that. And they're not doing it because they want to buy something. They're doing it because they want to learn something new. They want to experience something. So yes, that is entertainment. And yeah, I mean, you could even take it quite literally. And I mean, Levi's had a DJ and they're playing music. I mean, it was almost very related to what we think of entertainment to be. So you could team up with online, you could team up with a band, or, like the idea of my friend Tony Horniker, the Horniker Center, he has this cabaret show. The fact that he could maybe do something that was kind of sales related to that, yes, right. Why not have actual entertainment become, a venue for something commercial? Why not?
Right. Okay, so I know you have several hats. So please tell us about your part. You wear several hats. Your
Funny,
part,
at
your
home,
involvement.
actually, my wall at home, I have a bunch of hats on the wall. So,
Did not know that.
but
Did
yeah,
not.
damn. Anyway, I'm in a shop that I work
It's a turn of phrase. It's a turn
at.
of phrase.
I have
But
one.
your how with the British Display Society and Save the High Street. What's your specific role in with them, and how'd you get involved there?
Okay, well, with the British Display Society, we're rewriting the online coursework. They offer an online course where you could become a certified visual merchandiser by taking an online course, but it's really outdated, and it's quite a mammoth task to rewrite it. So I'm rewriting it. It's a charity, or it's a nonprofit organization, so I'm not paid to do that, but I care a lot about visual merchandising and students who are studying it, and I care a lot about the importance of it and the customer experience, and that I don't want to see brands or people forgetting about it because they think it's something outdated.
Right.
They need to realize that the skills of a visual merchandiser, basically they can style your photo shoot for you for Instagram, because visual merchandisers usually they're creative and commercial at the same time. So it's not just a crazy photo shoot where the product gets lost. They're always going to make the product the hero, and everything else is the background to that. So they have a slightly different take on styling.
Mm-hmm.
And so for the British Display Society, we need to kind of make the society more relevant. And most people don't even know about it. It's like 70 years old. It's a really old organization.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so no one knows that. So, we really want to position ourselves to help, to be a source of knowledge, because the board members are all people with 20, 30 years experience in visual merchandising, work for Selfridges and really big established UK brands that have a lot of experience. And so we want to be mentors a bit in that. We almost want to offer a service to retailers for advice, but for the moment, that's in the plans. But for the moment, it's really more about just students and supporting those students and trying to encourage people to study visual merchandising and support the universities and colleges that do teach it. So with Save the High Street, that's really my passion, is to help little brands and independent brands just deal with everything. And they do a lot trying to help them with the techno side and lots of data. And my role with Save the High Street is more advice on what they can do to make visual merchandising an important part of what think of themselves as a brand, and even do like mood boards and mission statements and unique selling points, and think of themselves as a brand. So basically give them the tools to make decisions on their own, because I know they can't afford agencies like what I work for. So, but it's kind of they fall between the cracks, and but they need the most help. So, so with Save the High Street, it's kind of advice to independents of smaller brands on how to kind of do things, but teaching them like very quickly, giving them ideas so they do it themselves, because they're DIY people anyway.
Yes, yes. And lastly, tell us about Blue Handed.
Oh God, a folly. Well, I really became disenchanted with the whole visual merchandising world, actually, and I wanted to leave it. So when I had the agency in China, I just didn't want to do it anymore. I think we arrive at that, like, oh, I'm bored of this now, and I don't want to do it anymore. I want to do something new and different. And so we quite blindly enter this new, world that all seems exciting, but its realities hit. But when I was in China, I didn't quite like living in China, but I discovered this amazing blue, very artisanal fabric, and I had the chance to meet a master who makes it, and he's a living treasure in China. He's classified as a living treasure. So I thought I'll bring that to the West and try to get designers to work with this amazing indigo fabric. So I'm still doing it. I'm kind of looking for a sales agent to help me try to show the fabric to designers. It's kind of ethical, sustainable, artisanal, and a lot of people say they want that, but the reality is a lot of big designers don't really want that. They're still buying mass-produced, non-ethical, non-sustainable things. So I find that smaller designers are interested
Yeah.
in buying these fabrics because they want to have something that's meaningful and responsible, and they want to have a story. So they're looking for fabrics and things that have stories. So I'm still doing blue-handed, but I want to focus it more on getting the fabric into the hands of designers and trying to see what they can do with it.
Okay, amazing. Thank you very much. We went a little bit over our time, but it's
Sorry.
fine. It was
All right.
great chatting. Great chatting. Thank you so much, John, for spending your time with us today.
Yeah, well, I hope I said something interesting to the audience there. And if they want to know more, they can contact me, I guess, through you or whatever. However, yeah.
Oh, yes, and your details will be online with us, so that would be great.
Thank you for having me on.
No problem, no problem. Thanks for tuning in. Join us again next week. Our guest will be Emma McCrae, makeup artist, chatting about her creative journey and launching her new product. Until then, bye-bye. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Bye.